Welcome to the Shyam Sharma Show. Today on the show we talk about Rahul Gandhi being elected president of the Congress party pretty much unopposed and why it's time for us to push to take our temples back from the government. Happy hump day everyone. Let's get into it. Welcome to a brand new edition of the Shyam Sharma Show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Now, in our first story of the day, Rahul Gandhi is set to be elected to the position of, Congress Party president pretty much unopposed. There have been a total of 89 nominations that have been filed in favor of Rahul Gandhi becoming president of the Congress Party. Many of them, of course, coming from very prominent Congress leaders like Ahmed Patel, Sheila Dikshit, Sushil Kumar Shinde, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Kamal Nath, Motilal Vora, and Tarun Gogoi as well. Many people among the party too, like Manmohan Singh, like Kamal Nath, like Anand Sharma, believe that it's time that Rahul Gandhi made the step up and became the leader of the party like he was supposed to. And as people were expecting, there wasn't even a single nomination that was filed against or opposed to Rahul Gandhi. The election process hasn't been without controversy within the Congress party itself, however, because there's a Maharashtra leader called Shehzad Poonawalla who has called the party's internal election process as rigged and undemocratic. And it's interesting also because there was a little bit of fire that was raised by Shehzad Poonawalla, but Prime Minister Narendra Modi has actually put quite a bit of fuel into that fire by actually mentioning him during one of his speeches and saying that he applauds Shehzad's bravery for actually coming out and speaking out against this dynastic process that the Congress party has. He also came out and said that the Congress party is not really a party, but it's actually a clan. And just like the clan, it's always the progeny of the clan leader that takes the leadership of the clan. And it's kind of hard to argue against that, particularly how it's been in the past couple of decades, at least for the Congress party. The Prime Minister also went on to say that this is Aurangzeb Raj, by which what I think he was trying to say was this is an absolutist system and in which nobody else has a chance but the scion of the Gandhi family. The Prime Minister also said that he's not surprised that the election process is so corrupt and undemocratic because the Congress party itself is pretty neck deep in corruption. And then he talked about the various scams that the Congress party was involved in between 2009 and 2013. The Commonwealth Games scam, the coal scam, the 2G scam, just to name a few. And like I mentioned before in a previous video that you can check out, it's also important to remember why Rahul Gandhi became the Congress president now, because he goes into two big elections as the president of the Congress party, the Gujarat election and the Himachal election. Now, the Himachal election, I feel, is a lot easier to predict because I think it might go to the BJP because of various reasons that I talked about in that previous video. But the Gujarat election is, I feel like, the closer one. And if the Congress party does end up doing well in the Gujarat election, they're going to lay the credit of that win or of that good performance squarely on the shoulders of Rahul Gandhi. They're going to say, of course, Gujarat won under the leadership and under the Congress presidentship of Rahul Gandhi. And then they're going to, of course, try and set him up for the prime ministerial position and as a prime ministerial candidate for the Congress party for the 2019 elections as well. So it's going to be very interesting to watch. I think it's going to be a very key election, the Gujarat election that's coming up on the 9th. And the result of that election is going to have quite a few ripple effects all the way to the 2019 general elections as well. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is something that I've been meaning to talk about for quite a while. And I just noticed that there's a magazine called Swarajya that I follow, and I think they're doing some very, very good work when it comes to the Indian right and creating a voice for the Indian right. They came out with an issue which talks about reclaiming the temples from the government. And that's why I think this is such a key topic, because the amount of hypocrisy and the amount of double standards that this has is quite mind-boggling, to be perfectly honest. So recently there was a UNESCO report that was released in 2017 that said that the Tamil Nadu government, which manages more than 36,000 temples, neither had the capacity nor qualified experts to carry out conservation work, leading to a massacre of ancient temples. Now, the sad thing about this is that, temples, the way we have in India, and any of these religious monuments and any of these historical monuments would be considered national treasures as any other country. But unfortunately, in India, they've fallen into a state of disrepair and ignorance. Now, the reason behind this problem is that the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowment Acts, these acts, they actually allow the state governments to take control of the finances of temples and of the maintenance of temples. These acts have actually allowed the state governments to take control of 100,000 temples throughout the country, which is ridiculous. Now, recently the Madras High Court came out and quite sharply criticized the Hindu Religious and Charitable Endowments Board, saying that many temples constructed at least 1500 years ago or much before are in ruins. Even the daily rituals are not performed. Some temples remain closed throughout the day with no one to even lighten the lamps. And that happens because these temples are not being able to manage their own affairs. These temples are being managed by state governments who have no interest in actually managing the temples and making sure that the temples are preserved and they're taken care of. And here's the thing that actually is insane about this whole thing. So the departments that manage these temples, according to a Supreme Court judgment, the governments can appoint non-religious people, the government can appoint Marxists, and the government can appoint non-Hindus to manage these departments. And normally I would be completely fine with this, but the problem is, just imagine if this was the case with mosques and churches, if non-Muslims and non-Hindus and Marxists and atheists were given charge of departments that actually manage churches and mosques. Just imagine the upheaval, just imagine the uproar, and just imagine the protests and riots across the country. In the name of secularism, we're destroying our cultural capital. Not just that, the incomes that these temples make are also taxed. That is not the case for churches and mosques. And the money from these temples is routinely taken to fund different government programs or budget different programs and often line politicians' pockets because it's the politicians that are managing these temples. This is routinely happens with temples like Tirupati and the Siddhivinayak temple in Mumbai. So of course, when you don't let these temples manage themselves and when you give the management of these temples to different state bodies and different state governments that have no interest in managing these temples, you can bet your bottom dollar that there's a lot of corruption involved. And there is. And just some examples of this. In 2010, the state government of Odisha apparently sold several hundred acres of land belonging to the Jagannath Puri temple to the Vedanta Foundation at throwaway prices. In Tamil Nadu, in an audit of 2007 of the ancient Parthasarthi temple in Chennai, managed by the government, revealed that records of 17 temple grounds, which added up to roughly 41,000 square feet, were missing. In 2006, Acharya Kishore Kunal, the religious trust administrator in Bihar, mentioned that government control over the temples has resulted in a loss of temple properties worth rupees 2,000 crores. He went on to point that the alienation of property that had taken place via sale, lease, and forcible occupation by persons with criminal antecedents. And if you think that it doesn't get worse, it gets worse. So disbursements to temples in Karnataka for renovation and maintenance between the period 97-98 to 2002 and 2003 fell from rupees 16.5 crores to rupees 7.1 crores, even as revenues collected from temples rose from 58.63 crores to rupees 79 crores. And when you ask how can this get worse? Interestingly, over the same period, disbursement to madrasas, mosques and Hajj committees rose more than 4 times from rupees 14.25 crores to rupees 58 crores, and disbursement to Christian institutions and churches more than doubled from rupees 5 crores to rupees 12.75 crores. So not only were Hindu institutions and Hindu temples not allowed to keep the money that they were making, but there was actually extra disbursement going to churches and mosques during that same time period in Karnataka. That's Indian secularism. When people say, why do you have a problem with secularism? Why is secularism bad? I don't have a problem with secularism. I believe I'm a secular person. What I have a problem is with the Indian brand of secularism. The Indian brand of secularism doesn't believe in equality. The Indian brand of secularism believes that certain sections deserve more than other sections of society. That is the complete antithesis of secularism. And that's the secularism that has been practiced in India for decades. And of course, because again, these governments are the ones that are managing these properties, there are various instances where they'll send a cleaning crew to take care of these temples, and They use techniques like sandblasting, which has led to the destruction of various murals, destruction of various paintings, and inscriptions in hundreds of temples across the country. And just imagine how much history and just imagine how much culture that we have lost because of these activities, and how many temples are in disrepair or are about to just crumble because of this lack of care from state governments, and because that these temples are actually not able to manage their own affairs. And not only is this logically abhorrent, it also doesn't make sense when it comes to the laws enshrined in our constitution. So under the equality that has been promised under Articles 14 and Article 15 of the Constitution, this system goes against them both. Article 26 of the Constitution provides people of all religions to freely be able to manage their own religious institutions. This goes against that article itself. So this system of not letting temples manage their own affairs actually goes against the freedoms that have been enshrined to us under the Constitution. And then there are articles like Article 29, which on paper they sound fine, but when you actually look into it, they are a lot more insidious. So Article 29 states that if there are any cultural or if there are any linguistic minorities, they can claim minority status, and then they'll be able to manage their own affairs. And this almost ensures that the Hindu society will splinter into tiny little minority groups in order to be able to preserve their heritage, in order to be able to preserve their institutions. Example of that are the Ramakrishna Mission and the Lingayats. This issue is a real travesty of modern India, and this issue is a tight slap on the face of secularism, the secularism that we laud, the secularism that we hold so dear to us. This is a right kick in the nuts to that secularism. You know, I often talk on the show that if there is one country out there that can match and potentially better the United States when it comes to soft power, it's India. There is no other country that matches up because of our unique culture, because of our unique contributions to the world, because of our unique cultural capital. Now, the cultural capital is the unique, tangible and intangible cultural assets of any particular community or culture. And it's such a shame that the rest of the world, you know, when I came to the US, I often see how much people are completely enamored with India and Indian culture and everything that India has to offer. But it is such a shame that in India, the government and the society so far doesn't really care about that and isn't really bothered about what we have. If you think about one superpower that India has, it's its soft power, it's its cultural capital, it's the cultural influence that India has the potential to wield over the world. And it's a shame that we're just letting that cultural capital be destroyed by the state governments. So I think it's high time. That we took the temples back from the state governments and temples were allowed to manage their own affairs. And this is my question of the day to you as well. Do you agree that temples should be able to manage their own affairs and they should not be managed by state governments? If you do agree, please comment down below and let me know your thoughts, because I'd love to know what you think. Also, I want to get this hashtag trending. This hashtag is called Take Back Our Temples. And if you want to get involved, please go over to Twitter and go look up hashtag Take Back Our Temples and please get involved with that hashtag. Let's get that hashtag trending. Let's get the community involved in this as much as possible. And let's create a loud voice that lets the governments know that this is completely illogical and this is completely unsecular and this is completely undemocratic. And it is high time that that temples were allowed to be able to manage their own affairs, just like mosques and churches do. So let's get involved and let's get that trending. All right, now for my YouTube video of the day, I actually want to talk about something that happened recently. News broke that Shashi Kapoor, who was a veteran and a very popular actor from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, passed away yesterday. My dad and I are a huge fan of Bollywood movies from the 60s, and one of my favorite actors from that time was Shammie Kapoor, and of course Shashi Kapoor as well. And there are often times where my dad and I, whenever we meet each other, we would just sit at home and we'd put on the TV and we'd watch old 60s movies and we'd listen to old 60s songs, because those are some of my favorite songs. The songs of Shammie Kapoor, the songs of Shashi Kapoor. So to commemorate Shashi Kapoor and his wonderful achievements and his wonderful contributions to Indian cinema, my YouTube video of the day is one of my favorite songs by Shashi Kapoor. This is a song that my dad and I have listened to countless times, and it's called Gore, Haathon pe na Zulm Karo. It's from a movie called Pyar Kiye Ja, which is again one of my favorite movies from that time. And the link to that video is provided in the description below, so I would highly recommend that you go check it out. All right, and that's the show. Thank you very much for watching today's show. I really appreciate you. Also, if you're enjoying what we're doing here, Please like the show. Please share the show. Please tell as many people as you can about the show and ask them to come check the show out. And if you're enjoying it as well, please subscribe to the show's channel and help us grow this community. I must reiterate that it's so important to create a community for the right where we can talk about ideas, where we could talk about issues, and we can talk about it with the broader right as well. Again, thank you very much for watching the show. We're going to be back with the Op India recap on the Op India's YouTube channel, so make sure you go over and check that out too on Friday or Saturday. And until then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon.